think everyone just heard the verdict, and the verdict is that the jury found Officer Buen guilty of reckless endangerment of Christian Glass. And on the other two counts, they couldn't reach consensus on those counts. So that means this case will be set over for a new scheduling, setting it over for a new trial. We are hopeful that Officer Buen recognizes that this community does not accept what he did, have determined already that what he did was wrong, and that he does not put Simon and Sally Glass through another trial. Rather, he takes responsibility for his crimes and allows this community and this family to begin to heal. So Simon and Sally don't enjoy being here. This process, this trial has been exceedingly difficult for them. It's been traumatic to hear lies spewed about their son. Have someone falsely say that their son was on cocaine or methamphetamines, which is a lie. The toxicology, everyone here has it. It's available on our website. Everyone knows that all Christian Glass had was ADHD medication and some level of marijuana on him. And that is it. And to hear things like Officer Buen hasn't had accusations of misconduct or accusations of excessive force, when we've all seen the videos and the civil settlement in another case where Officer Buen abused and assaulted a helpless detained inmate here in Clear Creek County. So this process has been terribly difficult for the family, and hopefully Officer Buen recognizes that the net is being closed around him and that he takes responsibility for his action. And so do the other 6 officers who are also charged with failure to intervene in Officer Buen's misconduct. So what I'll do now is turn it over to some questions for Sally and Simon.
The broadest question is, what was your reaction when you heard the verdict?
I wasn't prepared for it. I just kind of thought it would be guilty or not guilty. So I have to say I was absolutely not prepared for, I guess, a hung jury on 2 of the charges. Just not prepared for it at all.
You're still trying to wrap your head around what this means and what might have gone on behind the scenes in that room for 24 and a half hours.
Yeah, I think there were some things in the trial that there were some lies that weren't challenged. There were some things that were said that we don't think we just weren't true. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know, but it didn't seem like a difficult decision for me.
He's as guilty as sin, right?
It's made it harder because I always thought what he did was horribly wrong morally, and now I see that no other police officer would have done this. It was just outrageous, and yeah.
And so before the next question, I think it's also important to thank Heidi McCollum and her entire team for the hard work they put into this case. Criminal trials are not about the victim. They're not about Christian Glass, unfortunately, and remembering who Christian Glass was. And speaking on behalf of Simon and Sally, they thank the district attorney's office and the jury for their work in this case. And they encourage that charges continue to be pressed against Officer Buen.
That would have been really hard for the jury. My heart actually went out to them. I mean, as a mother, if I was on that trial, I would have found that so hard. They were very conscientious and diligent throughout the trial. They took huge amounts of notes. They took it incredibly seriously, and they just didn't have an easy job. And I absolutely recognise that.
And also they watched the video multiple times. We have never seen it once. They sat through it and watched it multiple times. I mean, all credit to them. How they did that, I don't know.
It's very hard.
And remember, the jury found Officer Buen guilty of reckless endangerment. They found that his conduct, beyond a reasonable doubt, rose to the level of criminal guilt. So that's important to remember. This is it's a small step towards justice for Christian. There are more steps to still be had.
Sally, I noticed some members of the jury had tears in their eyes. They looked at you as they walked out of the room. What did you take away from that?
They did. Some of the jury members looked straight at me, and a couple of the female jury members, they had tears in their eyes. And I don't know, maybe sorry that a verdict wasn't reached, or sorry that we lost our son, or I don't know. But it was very, very sweet and very kind.
What is going on in your head when you think about potentially having to do this again?
I'm not thinking about it right now, honestly. I mean, generally in my life, I take one day as it comes. I really do. I honestly don't really know what I'm doing tomorrow. We just one day as it comes. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
I hope that justice prevails. I hope that, we've been in Georgetown for 2 weeks, pretty much every day. We've been at every restaurant. We've been to the microbrew. The people are so wonderful, so lovely here.
Amazing.
Just such great people, and we felt so welcome and so supported. I think people want justice. They don't want this to happen again to another kid. It's great to see that support, and so I think in the end, Andrew Buen will be found guilty.
Yeah.
He will face justice. What he did is so wrong that it can't stand. It needs to be dealt with, and I hope and expect that will happen sooner rather than later.
So I have 2 questions. Were you able to survey the jury as far as who voted? Were you not able to survey the jury?
We haven't surveyed the jury. That's something that the district attorney's office will speak to the jury, and they'll talk to the jury. That I don't think that's the role for Simon and Sally here. This has been a lot, and again, we thank this jury for finding Officer Buen guilty of reckless endangerment. That should be the takeaway here. That Officer Buen, this wasn't just a hung jury on everything. Officer Buen was found guilty of reckless endangerment, and he will be sentenced for that. This community has stood with Sally and Simon, and at every step of the way, and this community will hold Officer Buen eventually accountable for second-degree murder.
Sorry, you've been so adamant from the get-go for fighting for change so other families don't have to suffer this type of pain. After going through all of this fight for justice through the criminal system, what would you say to families now enduring the justice system like this? Do you have any message for other families of victims?
There's a new sheriff. The police here, the people that put us through the metal detectors, are lovely.
Yeah, it's a change.
When we first came to court, there were maybe 10 officers on either side staring us down. Why are you here? Go away. This
Intimidation.
is intimidating us. And
It's gone.
that's totally gone. So there's a new sheriff here, and there's a new beginning. And I think even now I can say that this, Clear Creek County should be pleased that there's been a change, and that there's a different attitude here. So I see that as a positive, even though it might be another few months before we get full justice here. That's a positive.
And remember, in Clear Creek County, there is now a crisis response team because of Sally and Simon Glass. Their every single officer in Clear Creek County is trained on de-escalation now. There is a CSP training on their duty to intervene that's being spread across the entire state. There is a virtual reality training program based upon this situation that is being created. And all these changes and many more have been implemented because of Simon and Sally's fight for their son. Christian's memory will live on. Christian will live on not only in Clear Creek County, but all of Colorado and across the world. And he will be remembered because other parents will not be in the position that Simon and Sally. Simon and Sally, through their hard work and through their sacrifice, have saved another family from going through what they have gone through. And that has been their goal from the beginning. And they have achieved that goal, and they should be lauded for that.